Welcome. This is the live stream seminar from the Recording Conservatory of Austin. My name's Jet Jaguar. Today's topic is going to be hip hop tracking, specifically hip hop tracking to a pre-created, pre-recorded beat in the digital domain. We are starting with a great starting point to start talking about hip hop tracking. So I'm seeing some people here in the room who have not yet had this hip hop tracking seminar, maybe one or two of you guys who have had it quite a lot. So I'm gonna try to keep it fresh for you guys who've seen it often. No matter how many times I do this, I see people coming in with hip hop sessions that are janky in some really specific ways. So I'm gonna try to keep this very specific to some of the more problematic areas that I've seen. And these tracking workflows are going to go across the board. Don't look at me like that. Don't look at me like I'm looking at you. Good. Welcome. Welcome, friend. Okay, so speaking specifically about some of the problem areas that I've seen in hip-hop tracking workflows lately, and then also just kind of taking you through a bird's eye view of the process and how it can differ pretty greatly from other processes. So we're starting with a real, just perfect real life example of how hip hop tracking sessions often go. The artist is not here. We expect them to be here in the next 5 to 45 minutes. So we're gonna start with some generalities. And once they get here, we'll dive into some more specifics. So the first thing we want to do is set up a session. So if you would, follow me here to my desktop. And we are going to open up a brand new Pro Tools session, launching Pro Tools. Now, I'm going to take you through the entire template creation. Sometimes when I do this hip hop seminar, we'll start with a template up. I like to do that to show you that you can create these templates and then start from that point. Today, I want to start from scratch, as I sometimes do, in order to show you how to go about creating these things either from scratch every time if you want to be want to spend a lot of time pressing buttons, or how to create the template yourself in order to kind of customize and make it work for you. So we're going to start with a title. We'll call this the Hip Hop Seminar, semi-har, typing words in the English language. I'm gonna put a number on there, just number 1. Why not start from 1? Prompt for location, we're gonna work in 24-bit 44.1. Hip-hop tracking seminar, yes, And I'm just gonna save this on my desktop. It should be noted at this point and any other point in which it comes up that tracking is best done to a different hard drive than your system drive. In this case, we're tracking right to the system drive because that's the configuration we have, and we know we've got the juice to handle it. Basically, each hard drive has a certain capacity to pass digital information off of that hard drive into the processor stream and into the RAM stream. It tends to be one of the limiting factors in terms of how fast your session can run and how much load is put on your processor and your buffer. So when possible, you would want to track to it. Commonly, I hear this stated as external drive. The important thing is that it is not the system drive. So the files that Pro Tools needs to run itself are located in the application folder on a Mac within the folder Avid Pro Tools. Those system files are the ones you're concerned about. You want to be tracking to a drive that does not contain those files. So if your system has more than one hard drive within it, if you've got like a solid state that has your system files on it, and then another one that you track to, or maybe it's all solid state, whatever, you want to have 2 separate drives, one for your system files and one for your session files. That will allow you to have the greatest pathway off of hard drives. Good. So here we are, blank session, Hip Hop Seminar 1. Just looking to see when this artist may or may not arrive. Cool. So this is perfect. This is all stuff we can do before the artist gets here. Before the artist gets here, typically in hip hop, you won't even know what beat you're recording to. If you have a really put together artist that's maybe worked with you before and you've had some agency, maybe you've had the beat already, the greater likelihood is that you have no idea what's going on. They're going to show up and you're going to download that beat off YouTube. We'll get to there when we get to there. For now, we're just going to preset the things we can do in order to be ready for this tracking session. So we need some vocal tracks. We need some tracks onto which we can record vocals from a microphone. That should go without saying. In almost every tracking workflow I've seen work successfully for hip hop, you need many of these tracks in order to create a layered vocal effect. So right here, we're going to create 4 audio tracks. And these I'm going to call verse. Call this verse. I'm just going to use the abbreviation V, dub, L, V, not B, V. Did I capitalize? Yep. Dub, R, and then V, ad lib. So these are just basic vocal track categories that I feel will often give you the best starting place. You may find that for any individual session, you need to change those tracks, change what they're called, change your concept of what they would be. This is not, the goal of this is not to create a rigid template into which you must fit every production. The goal is to create a template that allows you to have some preset elements that make it easier to get going. So if you have to change these on the fly to reflect the reality of your session, of course, do so. So verse, V-dub, L, I'm going to change the color of these. Everybody knows vocals are yellow.
Mr. Jaguar, why are vocals yellow?
What?
Why are vocals yellow?
Why are drums blue? Don't ask me that. It's just the way things are. Why are electric guitars purple? It's not for me to say. It's just the questioning why is somewhat moot at a certain point. Find a philosopher, I don't know. So we're asking, we're setting up verse, blah, 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 blah. I'm going to create a group, Command G. We'll group these tracks together, and we're going to call this verse. So you're noticing that instead of vocal, I put verse here. That is because I also imagine there is going to be some hook section. In general, hip hop tends to have verse sections and hook sections, just like verse chorus sections in music that tends to be sung. Sometimes you'll have a bridge, sometimes you'll have a breakdown. Those might need their own tracks. In general, you want to separate tracks when your treatment or intended treatment of those tracks is fundamentally different in some way that makes it easier to deal with on a separate track. That's the only reason to separate them. If the verse and the hook have the same sound to them and don't require separate thought or separate treatment, put them all on the same track, have vocals, and just put everything on those 4 tracks. In general, I tend to encounter productions that want to be fundamentally different on the verse than they do want to be on the hook. And in some ways, that's how we're going to create a nice, exciting, dynamic feel to our hip hop track. So we want to set ourselves up that way. So I'm going to duplicate these tracks, Shift Option D. At this point, I don't want group assignments, but I do want everything else. Really, I could uncheck active and alternate playlists. The fact that there aren't any of either one kind of makes it okay. Just click OK. And these guys, I'm just going to rename. I'm going to call them hook, HDub, dove, HDub L, HDub R, H ad lib, and I'm going to make these a different shade of yellow. In this case, it's kind of getting brown. That's fine with me. What we don't want to do is use this top row of colors ever. They're not for serious work. Has the artist arrived? Yeah. Do we have this on camera, Waterboy? This is what it looks like when a hip hop artist shows up for the session. Man, I could not have staged this any better. All right. So we are creating the template for the session. Hang back a sec, and then I'm going to grab you in a minute, and we'll do this all on camera, yeah? Yeah, cool. All right, so we've got our hook tracks here. These are going to be grouped separately from our verse tracks. So we have a group for hooks, a group for verses. Notice the verses are tied together. Just moving any one of these faders moves all 4 of them. I can option click to bring all the faders back up to the top. Holding control separates any one of these faders. And then option will bring them back. I can separate them into different positions. And then control option will bring back just one of them. So these are some tracking workflows that we will cover ad nauseum in our specific work and in our assists, in our tracking sessions. It's just important to note that they are, especially for hip hop, very important because we need to work fast. Each of these groups of 4 vocal tracks, for me, is going to generate a bus. So I'm going to use the new track function. This is going to let me create it quickly. So I've highlighted all 4 of these tracks: verse, VW-L, VW-R, and V-ad-lib. I'm going to hold Shift Option to affect all 4 of these tracks. And then I'm going to click on the rightmost because I want my bus to come in right here to the right of this track. And I'm going to click New Track. I want a stereo aux input, and then I'm going to put the name of the track that I want right in here. The name of that is going to be verse. So these 4 tracks are all going to sum through this bus, and I'm going to have the opportunity to process here on the bus as well as processing on the tracks. My hooks are right here. I'm going to do the same thing. Highlight all 4 hooks, Shift Option, click on the rightmost, go down to New Track, and I'm going to call this hook. Stereo aux input. I'm solo safing because that's what we do with buses. That allows us to hear the results through the bus at all times and not have to solo the bus every time we solo the tracks. Cool, making sure we're in latch mode. We are, that's good. Okay, so next thing we want to do is pre-fill some elements that basically every tracking session needs. I need a master fader. Master fader is going to show me my relationship to absolute 0 to let me know if the sum of my tracks is clipping or not. That helps me set my monitor level and helps me know if the peaks that I'm hearing are on my tracks or on the sum. It also helps me establish a good, solid, proper gain structure right from the beginning. So to that end, I'm also going to put in a mix bus because we in the hip hop world have to get used to mixing in the tracking session. That is kind of a norm. It'd be nice if it wasn't so much the norm, but it really still kind of is. I'm going to do this one the long way just to show you again that there is another way to create a bus. Created just a standalone aux input, solo safe. Set the input to a random bus. I used 1-2, but we could have easily used 73-74. We're going to rename. I'm going to call this mix bus. Typing words in the English language, always challenging. I'm going to call our bus mix bus. So this is the work that using the new track function over here really helped us skip. We want our hook and our verse bus both going through this bus we created called mix bus, which is what, 73-74, healthy. That's also what I get for using this function. So notice that when I used the new track function, it put my, so what Ben said, that's what I get for using, for putting it way down there. Yes, but also that's what I get for not using the new track function. If I'd used the new track function, it would be here in this secondary bus menu that was created, a lot cleaner. So in this case, what I'm doing is I'm looking for holding Shift Option to select both of these, and then going down and finding mix bus. So again, if you're watching this on recording, I suggest you back up, check out that new track feature, and get used to using that when you can because it's easier than using this manual way of creating a bus. So mix bus, I'm going to make that red. Everybody knows that mix bus is a red. Not this maroon red like the master fader, but a different color red just like this. It's nice. Looks real good. Looks real good. All right. So just to quickly recap, I have these 4 vocal tracks set up right here for my verses. This is going to be my main verse, my 2 dub tracks, which could be layers, could be doubling layers, could be emphasis layers, in the sense that they may double every word of the verse in order to create a thicker sound. They may double only certain words in the verse to create an emphasized sound for those words. A lot of different ways to use these. We might track them in stereo. We might track 2 different mono versions and use those as such in the mix. As with anything ever in all of music production, the guiding light in this is the reference. Oh, well, how do I know which one I should do? What's your reference track? What does your study of the genre so far tell you you should be doing in this case? Reference, reference, reference. Your artist is going to make that tough for you. They're not going to send you reference tracks. They're going to be like, oh, we're just trying to do something like original. So like, you know, like we're just not trying to be like the other artists. Fine, you go get references. You need them, whether they think they do or not. Okay, so looking at this verse hook. Oh, I just did that thing.
Can I ask you a quick question about one of the things you just said?
Quick question about the thing I just said, Ben.
You were saying about possibly tracking in stereo. Would it still just be one mic and you're just having the inputs go into 2
Yes.
separate?
Man, you were just on me with these mono stereo questions. Okay, which are some of the most fascinating questions in all of audio. So the mono stereo thing, if I understand the question correctly, the question you're asking is, when I track these 2 verse dub L and verse dub R tracks, am I tracking them in stereo or am I tracking them in mono?
Well, I just heard you say you might track those in stereo, so I didn't know if you were just trying to like shortcut something there and make them do it one time and then you have it split. It almost be like
Right.
a duplicate, but...
No, I am not. Right, the question is, am I somehow tracking a single track and then using that to create a stereo image? Yeah? No. When I say track them in stereo, what I mean is tracking the same performance, performing the same thing twice, and then panning one left and panning one right. That's what I would mean by tracking this in stereo. Or maybe it's something different on the left than is on the right. I would consider that not really stereo. Stereo would want to be the same thing, only slightly different on the left and the right. Yeah? Okay, cool. These stereo and stereo tracking questions can be terribly confusing. If you are confused by those questions, you're in good company. Welcome to audio engineering. This is why being part of a strong academic program can really help you kind of not only understand the question that's being asked, but understand the sort of Russian nesting doll of an answer you're going to get. Because we first have to define the terms, right? Like we're asking, what is stereo? What does it mean to track something in stereo, right?
I was just more trying to reference like what you were meaning
Right.
in stereo in the sense.
Right. So this is why if some of these answers seem oddly to contain the question inside the answer, that's why. Whoa, that's not helpful. All right. So verse and hook, good. These are tracks for tracking the verse and the hook. I am planning to use the Voxbox preamp, so I'm just going to go ahead and set these inputs all to Apogee 9 because I know that's my input for that particular preamp. That's one thing about tracking hip hop that tends to be a little bit easier. Usually you're working with all single inputs, you're working with just a vocal coming in. So I like to use the Voxbox for this stuff. You might have a different favorite preamp. You might find that using a different preamp for a specific artist is the way to go. You guys who have had tracking experience with me before, who've been to my seminars before, will know that I'm a huge believer in spontaneous application of source plus whatever the hell you do in tracking equals the thing you're trying to get to. So don't go into a tracking session without a pretty clear idea of what you're trying to get, and then don't decide on the thing that is going to solve for X without first knowing what the source is. Meaning, you can plan all you want. You can say, oh, okay, I think I'm going to use this mic, I'm going to use this preamp, but until you've heard the source, you don't really know how you need to change it, and unless you know where you're trying to get to, you really don't know what you're trying to change it to, so you might as well just be using random microphones. In the beginning, you might need to do that. You might need to ask what other people would use. You might need to try a whole bunch of different things before you have the experience and wisdom to really start solving for X in that equation. but I encourage you to remain open in your mind as you start a tracking session to the idea that you might not be getting the great sound right when you press record. You might need to change the gear. You might need to change preamps. You might need to change mics. To that end, we are going to do a little bit of a mic shootout today. All right, so we've got our verse, our hook set up, our mix bus. Because it's a hip hop session, I'm also going to add a reverb and a delay. I'm going to do that by using the new track function and the option key. So I'm going to hold option. I'm going to go to the send on my rightmost track, and I'm going to click new track. I'm going to call this reverb. By doing that, I created a send on all of my tracks to the reverb channel. I'm going to make this one inactive. And I'm just going to put a reverb plugin here on insert J. Insert F, sorry, not insert J, and we'll use Verb Suite. You need to use low latency plugins when you use plugins in tracking, ones that add either 0 delay compensation or a very low number. Let's see, and then we're going to do the same thing but for a delay plugin. Cool. This is our delay plugin. Delay might want to go to the reverb. Cool. And then this guy is going to get a delay plugin. And let's use something everyone's going to have. Well, we're using Slate for the reverb. Let's use Slate for the delay as well. We'll use repeater. Cool. That can't go wrong, right? 90s Dusty Rap Back Vox 1. We'll see what that is. All right. So this is a fairly low delay, 42. We might decide that needs to be not 42. We're going to turn off delay compensation here. In tracking, you want to have delay compensation off because as soon as you record enable anything, delay compensation doesn't do anything at all. And if it's on, it's still taking processor power. All right, so turning that off, cool, good. This is starting to look like a complete session. So we'll do a little more once we get the beat in here. So now I want to bring up our artist. All right, come on. Woo. Okay, so important first questions. Well, what are we tracking? You have a beat? Two beats? Okay, well, so let's limit it to one. And really for tonight's session, we're only gonna need like maybe 8/16 bars of whatever. So where are we getting the beat from? YouTube. All right, so YouTube. Against my better judgment, I will now show you how to download beats from YouTube. Illegally, we might add. So let's have that little talk. No, we're not doing anything illegal. Don't worry. All right.
I think they argue with you on that. I mean, I do. But
all right. So, Cobra Kai. I can't believe they're making this movie.
what do they do? It's a TV show.
It's a TV show?
It's a series on YouTube.
How can you make a whole series out of it?
Wait, is that Daniel LaRusso?
Yes.
Ralph Macchio's in this?
Macchio and the original bad guy.
No way! For real? Oh! Man, the Ralph Macchios. God, that is my shit. Okay, good. All right, so anyway, we're getting distracted. Well, how do I find this beat?
It's right now.
What is it? What's it called on YouTube?
Right there.
Free J. Oh, good. Free J. Cole type beat. It's free.
Come through and chill.
I'm just not showing the screen right now, so.
You can show the screen. We're not doing anything. Oh, come through. So So it looks like it's, is it this one?
I am not a rapper. Slash me. I'm a team player.
Thank you. Thank you, Smalls. All right. So for all of you out there on the wide internet, this is Smalls. Smalls is a student here and also a team player, here to just make this hip-hop seminar happen. Does not want to be judged on the rap skills whatsoever unless you find them exceptional, in which case judge away. All right. So we're going to do the YouTube download thing. Frankly, I feel like every time I have to do this, the thing I used last time has been shut down. So really, I just end up Googling this. Yeah, okay, cool. No, I don't. So a few things that I can tell you about this. You don't want a downloader. You definitely don't want you don't want to download any kind of application. No.
Go to online video converter.
Yeah,
Online video.
the best one right
Yeah,
now.
yeah, okay, cool. So here we go, online video converter, that's good. And we're gonna paste the link. You wanna make sure that when you go to sites like Online Video Converter, that you click all of the links and all of the advertisements. It's just really good, high quality products. And just good, wholesome entertainment that you want.
In all honesty, some of them are some of my favorite things I've ever seen.
Probably. There's a lot of boobs. Seems to be a lot of boobs.
One of
So,
my favorite ones I've ever seen was "Don't let your girlfriend see this game."
good God. Okay. And did you get that game?
I didn't want my girlfriend to see
So,
it.
okay, Waterboy. So for next week, Waterboy, if you would get that game and tell us about that game, don't let your girlfriend see that game. Okay.
Jokes on you.
Don't let her see that game, Waterboy. Okay. All right. So we have downloaded successfully. And again, I just really encourage you guys to click on all these links and just see what happens. It's going to be real good for you. Most of them probably deliver as promised, with no exaggeration and or clickbait. So, okay. So here we go. Okay, so in all seriousness, now we're back in Pro Tools. We've downloaded the MP3, and we're going to import into Pro Tools. We don't want to use the add function. Add is bad. Yep, here we go. Come through and chill. Yep, convert. We want to convert. Convert or copy. If we use the add function here, which we can only do if the beat is in a WAV file format, seems unlikely, seems to not be like something you're going to encounter a whole lot, although you would like that. If you use add, it's just going to leave that file in whatever location it's in on whatever hard drive it's on. You're going to try to open this session later from your mobile drive. That file will not be there and you will not have a great time. So use copy or convert, not add. Again, add is bad. Add is bad. Add is bad. Add is what? Add is bad. Yeah. Maybe this whole thing should be way more cult-like than I thought. Maybe we should just have like chants and yeah. Cool. So anyway, I do want to talk just for a second about the implications of using beats downloaded from YouTube. It's a bit complex, and I think it helps for all of us, and especially for you guys who are out there as content creators, to understand the implications. So copyright law protects any original works of art or any original compositions separately. It protects the works of created work as sound recordings, and it protects the composition within as songs, both of which can be copyrighted and both of which are subject to copyright law the second that they are created. So whether anybody ever files a copyright with the Library of Congress or not, your work that you create is copyrighted the second you do it by law. You own it. Also, the people whose beats you're finding on YouTube own that, whether any official copyright has ever been filed or not. The law states that the second it's created, it's owned by the person that created it. Now, as with most of the law, the burden comes down to who can prove they did or knew what when. So the reason people file copyrights is to have an indelible record filed with the official authority that says, I created this on this date. If anybody comes along and claims to have created it at a later date, they're going to have a much harder time proving that, and the burden of proof will be on them to prove it at that later date. So copywriting is a good thing. If you're a content creator, you should do it, but you don't need to do it in order to own your original work that is just baked into the law. So copyright law plays out in basically only one way in the American court system, and that is as a result of tort action, meaning that you, in order to pursue a claim for somebody violating your copyright, have to prove some form of damages because it's a civil action, it's not a criminal action, there's no jail time. You just have to be proven to have damaged in some way somebody's ability to earn something, be it tangible or intangible, from their money or from their composition. So usually damages come in the form of money, and you would be either, if it's your work or if you are the subject of the lawsuit, damages would need to be proven to have occurred, and then the court would require restitution. Meaning that if you go and use somebody's beat and you make a total of $0 and they lose a total of $0 and nothing ever comes of it, there are no damages. Anybody would be insane to hire a lawyer and pay money to try to recover $0. It would not be a thing. So things like mixtapes that are released for free that never charge money for their work, things that are works of satire are automatically protected. Let me unpack that. Some works are protected by law. So if it's a work of satire or a work of homage, those two things are protected by law. You can use somebody's work in order to make fun of them. If I want to go...
Fair use laws, right?
Fair use laws, right. Fair use laws exist.
Something reaction channels do not understand.
Something the what channels?
Reaction channels do not understand.
Boy, this sounds like something I super want to hear more about later.
Ooh.
Yeah. Man,
That's a whole can of
if there's
worms,
one
man.
thing I really enjoy, it's somebody who's got an axe to grind, and I would love to grind that axe with you later.
Oh, yeah.
My man. Yeah.
It's
Good.
also pandemic.
Right? Okay. So anyway, the implications for you as a producer become one layer more meta and one layer more removed. As a result, they become one layer more complex, but in some ways one layer safer. If you are the guy that presses the buttons that allow for the creation of somebody else's work, whether that work ever makes that person any money or not is something you are removed from either by contract or by default if you're not getting paid. So if you are getting paid, I usually recommend having a work for hire contract. That said, you don't need one to be removed from the revenue stream. The fact that the artist paid you to make the track that they infringed on somebody's copyright with does not in any way implicate you in any of those legal actions. You are removed by one layer from any potential damages, and therefore removed by one layer from any potential legal action. So if you're the guy that downloads the beat and puts it into Pro Tools and records the rap, even if you get paid for that, for creating that thing for that artist, the damages are still created by them when they go and upload that thing and charge people money to listen to it. So the responsibility to not infringe on people's copyright lives solely with the artist who could make money from that copyright. Now, if you by contract receive a percentage, then you are liable for those damages in whatever percentage you receive of the back-end royalties on that music. So you have to be a little careful there. In general, I don't recommend entering into hip-hop projects for the most part on a percentage basis, most often because that percentage will be a percentage of zero, and also maybe a percentage of negative sum money if somebody sues over a non-copyrighted beat or over a copyrighted beat that was not cleared. So what you should do is counsel your artists. You know, you do have an ethical responsibility, in my opinion. All ethics boil down to philosophy, so I have to say that it is my opinion It is my opinion that you have an ethical responsibility to point out to your artists that they're stealing somebody's beat, and that if they plan to make money off of it, that they should seriously consider buying the beat. Firstly, because you as a content creator want people to pay for beats, so you should want artists out there happily paying money for the content they use. But secondly, that as an artist, they would be liable for any damages that they created, which can exceed the money they take in. So the damages as assessed by a court could be greater than the profits made by the artist if they were proven to have overlapped and damaged the brand of the other artist by brand confusion. If, for example, you're out there and you make a track and then everybody thinks that you're a producer or you made the beat to the track because you didn't properly credit the artist, that could be damages. That could be proven or that could be decided by a court to be damages that exceed the profit you made on the track. So you sell the track, you sell your track, you make $100 off it, but then the beat maker says, yeah, but also people didn't know that it was my beat. And there's some confusion there. People are now going here because they think that's where the beat came from. I lost $1,000 off that. You have to pay back the 100 you made plus the $1,000 that the other party lost. So damages can be hypothetical like that as well. So you can tell your artist that. Most of the time it's not worth having that in-depth a conversation, but you as a creator, I think it behooves you to have an understanding of that mechanism, to know where you're sheltered, where you can make money engaging in somebody else's unethical behavior. In my opinion, and again, this is just where I place my own ethical slider, as long as I'm telling them what they're doing and telling them the implications of what they're doing, if somebody wants me to put two sounds together and make sound three, that's what I do. I'm a service industry guy. You know, I will provide that service. It's on them with what they do with it after that and whether they paid for it before they got to me or not. So I think it's also worth noting that some of your best and most loyal, most long-standing client relationships will come from the people that you grow and elevate as an artist. So they may come in and the first project you work on, they might not clear anything, but you'll plant the seeds. And then the second project they come in, maybe they're in a slightly better place. Maybe they made a little coin off the first project. Maybe they kind of have a different perspective on things now. They've been around the industry a little bit. They know how hard it is. They might want to do things better the second time around. And if you were part of the process that let them elevate as a being in the world and as a member of the music community, that's something people will reward with a lot of loyalty. So it is important, I think, in general, for even just your own professional advancement to be upfront about those kinds of things, to help counsel people through a lot of these murky waters that they may not be super savvy towards. Okay, so good. I think I made it through that lecture in record time this time. We should start a stopwatch next time, see how long it takes me to get through that little spiel. Or maybe I could just refer you back to this video later on. Who knows, internet? I don't know.
That'd be very Pensado of you right there.
That'd be super Pensado of me. I want to be as Pensadian as I possibly can. Dave, hit me in the comments section. Man, now I want to launch into a whole thing about how Pensado's place changed my life. Really though, Dave?
Oh, no.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so.
You've seen that.
Right?
You find it.
Okay. So good. It's like some jalapenos, and like you don't want to put too many spicy jalapenos. You Pensado's place guys, you know what I'm talking about. We've got the beat here. The beat came in from YouTube, so we can expect a couple of things. It's going to be slightly lower quality than a full quality wave, and it's probably going to be hyper loud. This one doesn't actually look too bad. It looks like it's got a little dynamic to it, but in general, we should expect it to be full fidelity, or I'm sorry, full bandwidth in terms of dynamic range. We should expect the loudest parts to hit 0 dBFS on our peak meter, which means it's probably going to have to come down to create the kind of headroom we like to have in mixing and tracking. So I'm just going to kind of look at the loudest part of the beat here. Yep, super loud. Going to bring that down. This part is super important. We want to establish the headroom that it takes I'm talking to you over there, water boy. We need to establish the headroom that it takes in order to have room to track things at the level that's comfortable coming in, and in order to be able to do a little rough mixing, and indeed just moving into the mix. Let's establish good gain structure right from the start, and we're gonna be good to go. So I'm gonna pull this guy down. A good benchmark would be to pull this down until you're peaking. And I like the sample peak meter. If you like Pro Tools Classic, just peak Classic, do you? I like to work from a place of about negative 18 dBFS. That gives me plenty of room for addition. It leaves me in a place where I'm gonna have plenty of headroom going forward. So if my loud, heavy peaks hit at negative 18 dBFS, I think I'm in a good place to start a hip hop tracking session. So just gonna pull that fader down till you're hitting negative 18 dBFS. And then I'm gonna do two more really important things with this beat. One is I'm gonna get on the grid, and two is I'm gonna assess the space that it leaves me for vocals. So getting up on that grid. First thing I'm gonna do is find the first clear downbeat of the song. By downbeat, what do I mean? I mean the beat one of the 1, 2, 3, 4 structure. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. I want that first clear, obvious beat one. There it is. You can usually see it. It's that big kick drum. Before that, we've just got intro, yeah? Pa. Yep, okay. So this beat one, and this gets a little procedural, so just hang with me. I'm gonna turn off conductor mode. I'm gonna take this beat one and I'm gonna just knock it all the way back to the beginning of my session. I'm gonna set my grid mode for bars and beats and set this for quarter notes. Then I'm gonna look at where I relate to this. 2, 3, 4. I'm gonna bring up my transport, set this ruler for bars and beats. So I set my grid mode up here for bars and beats, quarter notes, and then I also set my top ruler to bars and beats. Really, we could get rid of some of these that we don't need. Probably not gonna need tempo or meter changes. It's a hip hop song. Feet and frames, cool. Guess what, 4, 4, changing to nothing. Cool, 3, 4. I'm gonna go over here to my transport. Command 1 on the number pad will toggle transport. It's 1 on the number pad, not on the number bar at the top. So number pad, command 1. I'm gonna click on my tempo number. And then as my beat plays, I'm gonna tap the T key in quarter notes. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. 83 seems reasonable. All right, so I'm gonna turn my grid on. I think I accidentally clicked that off. And then what I'm looking for here is to see if these lines start to line up with the beats of the song. And it actually, 83 looks pretty damn good. So I can see at the beginning they line up, and now here I'm looking and at the end they seem to also line up. If you want an audio confirmation that they are lining up, just put a click track in your session. And let's see if it lines up at the end. Boom. So if it didn't line up, if it lined up at the beginning, if it was off by even a tiny little bit over the course of the 2-3 minutes of beat that we have here, it would drift even more, and so it wouldn't line up at the end. If it lines up at beat one or at bar 1 and it also lines up towards the end of the beat, you know you've got the right tempo. So if it's a, pardon?
Can you find the tempo again real quick?
Yes. Waterboy's asking if I can find the tempo again real quick. Absolutely. Maybe I'll find it even a little slower than I did last time, so it's a little easier to follow. So I'm going to start my beat from the beginning. Again, I moved beat 1 all the way to the front, and now I'm going to hold my tempo. I'm going to press my tempo number down here on the transport, and as my beat plays, I'm going to tap the T key in quarter notes. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And now, depending on how accurately you're able to tap that T key in line with those quarter notes, your number here will be the tempo of the track. So oftentimes you might be off by a little bit. So let's say this said 86 when I was done with it. It would not be uncommon for your taps to be a little bit ahead of the beats and to create a slightly faster tempo. I'm going to look here and I'm going to see that these lines don't quite line up. This line doesn't quite line up with the beat 2. This one doesn't line up. And when I press play, my click is not going to be on. Right? So I can see that because the second beat is ahead of this second strong hit here in the beat, and what I'm talking about is this line is in front of this transient, my tempo must be too fast. Now, because we put this beat 1 at the beginning of the track, all the way at measure 1, beat 1, this is relevant, and all I have to do is change the number. So my click is too fast, and I bring it down to 85. Still out in front. 84, still out in front. 83, that seems to lock it in. That's how I'm going to get to my tempo. Now, just to show you why it is that I started by putting my beat 1 here at the beginning of the track. Let's say I didn't, and I just had it sitting out here like it came in. So right now, measure 1, beat 1, and let's go back to our 86 starting point. Right now, this measure 1, beat 1 is right on the downbeat, right? Whoops. But I'm looking here and beat 2 isn't. I can see beat 2, the grid line is a little bit ahead of this transient. So I know my tempo is too fast. If I come down here and I now bring the speed down, notice that my downbeat is now moving and my start is no longer on beat 1. So I'd have to move this again to see if that's on. Nope. So go down, boom, boom. I have to move this again to see if this is on. No. And you can see that you'd have to continuously move your downbeat to a beat 1 in order to see if the rest of it lines up. So in this case, it's much easier just to take that first strong downbeat, bring it to the beginning of the session. That's going to let you click on the tempo number once you use the T key to get it close, and just go increase it and decrease it in order to find the one that makes it line up. No, 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 boom. Yeah? Cool. So this is what we call being on the grid. And then I'm going to pull this out, still making sure that it starts on a beat 1. We might have to come out to what, like 6? Cool. In order to give myself enough space to start in the right place. Cool. Yep. Measure 6 on the money. Cool. So now I'm going to press 7 on the number pad to turn my click off. Notice that toggles the metronome off. I'm going to move the click down to the other side of my master fader so it's out of the way. We probably won't need it again. Okay, so now my beat's on the grid. This is going to make editing on the fly so much easier because now I can use grid mode right from the get-go, right out of the gate while I'm recording. All right, so we're on the grid. Don't sleep on that. If you take only 2 things away from this seminar, establish gain structure here by setting your beat peak to -18 dBFS and put your beat on the grid. Now, in some cases, especially if you're stealing the beat, the producer may have made it uneven tempo. They may have made it right between tempos. They may have made it 82.689375430, right? So you might need to get infinitesimally small. You might need to break down. You might need to hold. Instead of clicking on this number, you might have to click on this damn number in order to get your tempo to the right place. If you get your beats from a reputable source, not only will they tell you what the damn BPM is, but it will be an even number because you'd have to be a crazy person to put it between those things unless you were just trying to make it hard for people to steal your beats. They also might shift by like a quarter of a BPM each measure, or each 2 measures, or each 4 measures. Regardless, if it changes BPM throughout the song, as a lot of producers will do when they just upload their example beats to YouTube, you're gonna try to make it fit onto a BPM and it's not gonna work. So in this case, it did work, we're looking good. Again, if your beats come from reputable sources, you will never have this issue. but sometimes you might find beats that are kind of protected by the producer by making the tempos vary. Okay, in that case, I just recommend reverting to previous strategies and working without being on the grid. Never good, but you might have to do it. Cool, so now we're looking good. We're in a position where we can actually start tracking this thing, yeah? Yeah, okay, so this is where I would have some conversations with the artist. I'd talk about their concepts for layering, how they want to approach their hip hop construction. In my mind, that is a different seminar where we'll talk about creating a hip hop track. We have a couple other seminars in our records, I believe. We'll have to check the previous seminars. I'm going pensado on you here, but you can go back into our archives and find a couple seminars where I have gone a little bit deeper down the how to create a layered hip hop vocal sound in a tracking session. Today's tracking session, I want to focus on getting the starting pieces all in the right place. Because again, I see this often poorly managed. Okay, so mic shootout. There is no such thing as a specific mic that's good for hip hop. There might be a specific mic that is good for the largest number of hip hop artists. That might exist. But when you're choosing a mic, and this goes for any vocalist, especially for vocals, really kind of for any source, but vocals have a special place in our hearing sensitivity. What you want to do is you want to match up the mic that flatters that vocal in the best way for that production. I really can't stress enough how much difference this can make in the overall, rather than assuming, well, this is a good mic, this artist should sound good through this mic. There is a certain amount of that can happen. However, choosing between this good mic and that good mic can make all the difference. I've certainly had cases, and more than one recently, where the best sounding mic for a particular artist on a particular track was a dynamic mic that cost less than $100. It's been a few different mics. Sometimes it's a dynamic mic that costs a whole lot of money. My point being that the $7,000 CM7 that we have in the booth will not necessarily sound better for this hip hop artist than the $1,000 TLM 103, might not sound better than the $800 Mojave 201 FET. These are the three options we've given ourselves today. Some other great options would be the Shure SM7. That would be a great one to try out for most hip hop artists. The Biodynamic M88 that we have in there. Good old fashioned SM57. Man, that is almost never the wrong mic for the job. I might exaggerate. Today we're gonna shoot out these three mics. What you will find is that there's gonna be a pretty significant difference in the way her voice sounds just coming in off of these three different microphones. If there is a wide range on these microphones, and if none of them make you feel like this is probably the right mic for the job, continue to try different mics to the extent that you have time. If you don't have time for this mic shootout, because again, in hip hop, one of your biggest challenges is working against this clock that the artists give you. Sometimes they're gonna give you like 2 hours. Oh, and I need to leave with a finished track. Shit, okay, no time for a 20-minute mic shootout in that paradigm. Use a TLM 103 and call it a day. I suggest that mic because it's middle of the road. It's gonna fail you the least of all the mics. It's pretty flat and warm in the right ways for most vocals to sound fine through it. Some vocals are gonna really benefit a lot from the crispy top end you're gonna get from something like a CM7. Other vocals are really gonna benefit a lot from the big fat punch you're gonna get from a SM7 when that really gets working. The rounding and the transients can be really nice on a dynamic mic. So again, give yourself time if you can. If not, use the Neumann TLM 103. Cool. All right, so let's go in the booth and get Small set up for a quick little vocal shootout. Yeah. Cool. So what have I done in here? Am I speaking over here, Waterboy? Cool. We have all three microphones that we're going to use in our shootout. And once our artist makes her way in here, I'm just going to set them all up so they're roughly the right height. Don't need to get too crazy with this, but one thing we do want to do is make sure that she's using kind of the same address on each of these mics. So I'm going to ask you to have the pop filter about 2 inches in front of the mic, and for you to be about a hand's width in front of the pop filter.
Okay.
Yeah? And we're going to do that for all 3 of these mics. Little pro tip here, if you're doing a mic shootout, you can put your pop filter on its own stand. That way you don't have to switch, you know, or have a pop filter for each of these mics, however you want to do it. Maybe you're super fancy and you've got like tons of pop filters. Yeah, okay. I got all the filters, so many pop filters. Okay, yep, good. So let's start over here on the 201. If you want to be really just objective about it, you can do this blind. Sometimes it's fun to do these blind. You guys want to do this blind? Yeah, let's do this blind, right? Okay, so we need somebody to run this. Smalls, you gonna run this?
Yeah, run it.
Okay, cool.
Run it.
How are we gonna be blind in there?
I know which one's plugged in where.
You know which one's plugged in where? I don't know which one is plugged in where. Okay, but you're gonna have to, okay.
Pick 3.
Cool, let's do this.
All right.
So I'm gonna go to 1. We're gonna randomize this. First, I'm gonna go to 1. So I'm gonna come out of ISO booth A. You can stay in there, dog.
And talk.
Yeah, you'll hear me in a sec. Oh, do we have headphones on her?
Yes.
Good, thank you. I'm gonna plug ISO booth 1 into Voxbox in. We are gonna know which is the CM7 because we're gonna need phantom power.
Boo.
Yeah. So this won't be totally blind. Maybe blind at all is more than we can do for today. Really, it's not that important that it's blind. It's just fun for us here. All right, so one of the things I'm going to need here are headphone sends. So I'm going to bring up sends F to J. I like to keep these on a separate bank from my reverbs and delays. And I'm going to set each one of these vocal tracks to bass. So Smalls, your vocals are going to be in bass, and your beat is going to be in drums. Cool, good. Notice I'm using the tracks and not the buses. If you use the buses, you can't solo the tracks without killing your sends to the other tracks. So use the tracks and not the buses as the source of your stuff. You got that beat in your phones? Yeah. Cool. Good. So now I'm going to engage the microphone. Can I use phantom power on number 1, or is it the CM7? I can?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, wait, the CM7?
Well, the CM7 doesn't get phantom power here. No? So it is the CM7? Okay. So 1 will be the CM7. There's only so blind we can make this, guys. Sorry. I'm turning my EQ, my compressor, my de-esser off. I'm going to use a roll off at 80. Let's close those doors. Record enabling my verse vocal track. You can hear me in the headphones, yeah?
Yeah.
Cool, good. All right, so let's go ahead and just count to 20.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15.
Are you right in front of the CM7?
I'm sure not.
Yeah, so let's get you up in front of the CM7. Right? That can't be good.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. There we go. Much better. So give me that 1 through 20 again.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12.
Cool. That's great.
Okay,
So I'm just
cool.
using that to get a good safe input level. And now I'm just going to have you do the first couple of lines over this beat. Do you start right at the beginning with like intro stuff, or is it you come in when the beat comes in?
Come in when the beat come in. I really have no intro.
Okay,
I just like made this up today.
cool. So I'm going to start you 2 measures before the beat comes in. So this is going to be your cue. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Oh, okay. Try that again.
Cool.
I wasn't ready. I'm on a whole nother level, paper chasing a bullet. No.
Cool.
Can somebody bring my phone, please?
Yeah, you need somebody to bring your phone.
Yeah, I forgot these words.
You seem to have 2 phones.
Just take both over there.
Yeah.
Just give her both.
She
Sorry about
just
that.
goes, okay. So it's astonishing how quickly people go from engineer mode to artist mode the second you put them in front of a microphone. It's alarming. We engineers, we're all about making it happen. These artists, they just like, yeah. Exactly. So we don't need this to be super accurate. We just need this to be consistent as we try out these 3 different mics.
Okay.
I'm on another kind of level. Like that?
Yeah, I think so.
Cool.
I'm on another kind of level, paper chasing, pulling niggas up out of the seat, cause the crowd gonna feel me if you feel like I ever before.
Great, that's enough.
Okay, cool.
That's super
Shoot.
enough.
I'm like stage fright back here.
Yeah, you are. You're. What if everybody thinks you suck?
Right.
I know. All right. So I'm gonna turn this group off so that it's not messing with me. I'm going to, because I forgot to skip the first playlist, which you should not do. I'm gonna press Command X to cut, skip that first playlist, paste, and now I'm gonna go for my second playlist. Good playlisting. That is super important. You hip hop guys, use playlists. Don't just use all other tracks. Playlists, use these playlists. That's what they're for. You should use them. Skip the first one. Always skip the first one. That leaves you this fresh guy. So when you go to comp, this guy is that's just called verse is blank and open for comping. Also take 1 is called 01. It's super great. Skip the first one. Cool. So here we go. Take 2, same thing. Oh wait, switch mics. Hang on. All right, phantom power's off.
I can't hear nothing.
Okay, we're gonna switch microphones. Why don't you stand in front of the next one?
Okay. I'm here.
Cool. And I'm gonna go over to number 2 here. I should have unrecord enabled it for sure. All right, so give me a little check.
Hello, hello, hello. Mic check 1, 2.
Good, sounds like we're in front of it, yeah? Well, can you do it Australian now? Good day! Yeah.
Good day, mate.
Oh, that was pretty good. All right. Cool, so give me that 1 through 20 again.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
All right,
10.
good.
Okay,
And now we're gonna do the rapping.
cool. I'm on the whole kind of level, paper chasing, pulling niggas up out of the seat. Shit.
Redo.
You know what?
Redo.
Okay, cool. I figured you guys could hear me. I'm on a whole nother level, paper chasing, pulling niggas up out of the seat, cause the crowd gonna feel me if you ever felt like I ever felt before.
Cool, yep. That's enough to check it
Straight
against
up.
the other one.
Next.
Next microphone.
I need a tag team partner.
Yeah? But then they wouldn't be blind. They would know which mic was which. That's why you're solo. I'm gonna unrecord enable this. So it's not the hot plug. I'm gonna turn off phantom power.
bad. Why is there smoke coming out of the side?
Fuck it.
All right, you ready, Smalls?
Yeah. Okay.
Give me that 1 through 20.
1, 2, 3,
Cool.
4. You feeling it? I'm on another kind of level. Paper chasing, pulling niggas up out of the seat. Cause the crowd wanna feel me. If you felt like I ever felt before.
Cool. So there was one line in here that was really pretty similar. I'm gonna
Great.
switch up to this guy. Let these all be the same. Option, drag their height.
Come
Good. Cool. Okay. No, you're good. You can come in here for a second. if you
Okay,
want.
cool. Chasing, pulling niggas up out of.
So there was one line in there that she was pretty consistent with. Woo! Yes! Smalls, that's pretty fucking good. Pretty fucking good. You know you're singing, right?
I don't know what I'm doing. Talking?
I'm on a whole nother level that's got this pitch. It's this note that you're singing right here. Yeah, you're singing.
Chasing, pulling niggas up out of the seat. Cause the. Chasing, pulling niggas up out of the seat. Cause the. Chasing, pulling niggas up out of the seat. Cause.
All right, so those are our three. Those are our three examples. We've got microphone 1,
Chasing, pulling niggas up out of the seat. Cause the. Chasing,
and we've got microphone 2,
chasing, pulling niggas up out of the seat. Cause the.
and we've
Chasing,
got and we've got microphone 3.
chasing, pulling niggas up out of the seat. Cause the.
Cool. So pretty different, right? Yeah? Maybe not exactly what we expected each one to be. Each microphone's particular frequency response is static, but the source you put into it is dynamic. So remember, source plus the thing you're doing to it and tracking, in this case microphone, equals the thing you're going for. So some idea of what we're going for, definitely knowing what we're starting with. I know I have my obvious favorite. Let's take a quick look through these again. Notice I had to gain one up. We want to make sure these are all somewhat equal in gain. Of course, her dynamics were a little different on each one. You can't really help that.
Hey, what are you listening for?
So we're listening for mostly frequency response, but we're listening for the way the microphones handle the changes in sound from each word, how they handle the attacks, how they handle the overall air, how they handle the body. So, you know, how does the overall evenness of the vocal sound? How does the support? So like I'm going to start using numbers. I don't want to do that, but the body of the voice, you know, the deep body fundamental parts of the voice, the air in the voice, how well do you hear the breath? How much breath do you want to hear? How is that expressed? How's the balance between the two? And how does it handle the consonants? How does it handle the So for rap, that can be really, really important. So 1,
chasing, pulling niggas up out of the seat. Cause.
2,
Chasing, pulling niggas up out of the seat. Cause the. Chasing, pulling.
and 3.
Chasing, pulling niggas up out of the seat. Cause the.
3 might want to come down just a tiny bit. Maybe 1 dB.
Chasing, pulling niggas up out of the seat. Chasing, pulling niggas up out of the seat. Cause. Chasing, pulling niggas up out of the seat. Cause the.
All right, so I've got my order of the 3. Who likes number 3? Who likes number 2? Who likes number 1? Cool. I'm close between 2 and 1. Obviously, I think 3 is a little manky. What was number 3?
Number 3 was the 103.
3 was the 103. What was the Mojave was 2, and the CM7 was 1. So it is fascinating.
The cheapest and the most expensive were the closest together.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they certainly were. And the one that is the most often recommended, the reigning champion of the hip hop industry, fell flat on its face. The 103, the one everyone talks about as the hip hop mic. Yeah? But that just goes to show you how individual it is. Ordinarily, I don't love the CM7. I rarely like the CM7 for a rapper. For Smalls, it was the dopest one. I think I really liked what it did for the evenness of her voice around sort of 200-300. Had this nice support through it the whole time. It handled those transients really well when the consonants sound really nice and even through the,
Chasing pulling niggas up out of the seat.
as opposed to 2 and 3 that got progressively more sibilant and a little bit more harsh.
Chasing pulling niggas up out of the seat cause the chasing pulling niggas up out of the seat cause the
Now, one thing that 103 did that I kind of like is it pulled out this sort of throaty thing, and now this might have been the performance, but
chasing pulling niggas up out of the seat.
there's a bit of like a throaty rasp in that one
Chasing pulling niggas up out of the seat.
that really isn't exaggerated there
Chasing pulling niggas up out of the seat.
or there.
Chasing pulling niggas up out of the seat cause the
So you can really hear the character of each of those mics come through. And I think of course, the specifics that I mentioned earlier that you want to listen to, evenness, consistency, which are the same thing, the body, the air, and then the consonants, how each of those independent characteristics plays out. But none of those individual categories is anywhere near as important as just generally what do you think when you hear it. Like one of them, you're going to have a specific character that each of those mics imparts, and one of them is going to be flattering to that voice in a way that you like better than the others. I'm sold on the CM7. You like it? Apparently you're an expensive mic kind of lady, which sounds great, except that means to get the best mic for you, you got to spend $7,000. So congratulations. All right, so let's start from the top of this. Let's just try to get through one verse so we can just practice tracking using playlists. I can say a few things about that, and that will be good for us. Yeah?
I got a hook.
You got a hook too?
No, that's all I got.
Okay. Cool. Well, let's just do it.
Okay.
Oh, you only got a hook?
I'm a freestyle, let's go.
Okay. Well, so what's this? Was this the hook that you were just doing right here?
Yeah, because somebody else is supposed to do this.
Cool. I like it. I like it. You got good lyrics.
Team player.
Yeah. Good. Thank you. So a few things I want to point out here. I'm using playlists. Control / for new playlist. Oh, whoops. Control / for new playlist. Not /. Every web address you've ever quoted has probably been wrong. It's not the / in the web address. That's the /. You're looking for the /, which is located above the return key. The return key is not the enter key. The enter key is in the bottom right of the keyboard. Just have a look. Good. So I'm using new playlists. I started by skipping the first playlist. I'm going to playlist down each of these tracks and then go into layering each of these tracks. I personally like to do a lot of processing while I'm tracking hip hop stuff. Now that, of course, is completely reliant on your ability to accomplish those tasks in a way that doesn't bother the artist, because they will hear you changing stuff on the channel strip. So your ability to do this stuff subtly, your ability to do this stuff and also listen to each take. Sort of walking and chewing gum is something that you want to get good at when you're going to do hip hop. So I want to show you that a little bit while she's tracking and see how that works out. So I'm just going to preset a few things over here. See how she lands. Cool. All right, you ready to do that verse?
Yeah. Okay, yeah.
Okay, so we're going to use the CM7, yeah? Cool, so I'm going to switch over to that. Turning off record enable. I can hit Shift R to turn that off. And I'm going to turn off phantom power on my preamp. I'm going to make that switch back to 1. Leave phantom power off. Wait a second so that it doesn't pop. I'm going to press Shift R again for record enable.
While you're switching over, can I hear the beat?
I already switched it. We were already switched.
Oh.
So here you go. I'm going to let you go this time a little bit, really explore the studio space, and I'm just going to process this vocal a little bit. So just freestyle at me, just keep it coming, yeah?
Okay.
Okay.
Okie dokie. Yeah. I'm on another kind of level, paper chasing, pulling niggas up out of the sea, cause the crowd gonna feel me. If you ever feel like I ever felt before. before. Stand up, put your hands in the air, you feel me? I'm on another kind of level, paper chasing, pulling niggas up out of the seat, cause the crowd gonna feel me. If you ever felt like I ever felt before, stand up, put your hands in the air, you feel me? I'm on another level, my money's getting taller, it's getting taller, can't even get it in order. I'm stacking money, hustling, nope, I'm not. Sitting in the studio trying to make this track hot. But I ain't got no beats, I ain't got no flow. He said freestyle, I said yo. I'm down, I'm on this beat, I'm eating it up like I'm eating pig feet. Yeah. Disclaimer, I don't like pig feet, but I like to eat cereal and milk. Yeah, I like it sweet, I like the chocolatey, not the Rice Krispies, but I like to eat them if it's free.
You know what? It's crazy to me how many freestyles devolve into breakfast foods. You ever notice that? Like, there's only a certain amount of time, doesn't matter who's doing the freestyle, eventually breakfast foods are gonna be the topic.
You get hungry in here.
Yeah, right. You're right. One universal experience, universal truth to everybody is breakfast foods. All right, so while you were rapping, I did a little bit of compression, both a direct compressor here using the distressor with a mid boost to try to tap down some of those mids. I used distortion too, which I might undo, and then a parallel compressor here with my 1176. Pretty heavy compression here, riding the average level, pulled back to 50%. Then I used the air plugin to kind of roll off the top. And let's hear how that plays out a little bit.
Another kind of level, paper chasing, pulling niggas up out of the seat, cause the crowd gonna feel me. If you ever feel like I ever felt before, stand up, put your hands in the air, you feel me?
So I need a little trim here.
Level, paper chasing, pulling niggas up out of the seat, cause the crowd gonna feel me. If you ever felt like I ever felt before, stand up, put your hands in the air, you feel me? I'm on another level, my money's getting taller, it's getting taller, can't even get it in order. I'm stacking money, Another kind of level, paper chasing, pulling niggas up out of the seat, cause the crowd gonna feel me. If you ever feel like I ever felt before, stand up, put your hands in the air, you feel me? I'm on another kind of.
Some basic compression moves here. Well, these are not super basic, but these are compression moves that I would recommend getting in your hip hop arsenal. A fast compressor used up front here. I'm using it slightly in mix. I might actually pull that back.
Paper chasing, pulling niggas up out of the seat, cause the crowd gonna feel me.
Yeah.
If you ever feel like I ever felt before, stand up, put your hands in the air, you feel me? I'm on another.
Level matching, huge. Always level matching. It lets you know how subtle your moves are and how it lets you really hear things like your compression evening things out as opposed to making things louder or making things bigger. Cool. I used air to roll off the top, but then to boost some. This is a move you're gonna see me do a lot.
Kind of level, paper chasing, pulling niggas up out of the seat, cause the crowd gonna feel me. If you ever feel like I ever felt before, stand up, put your hands in the air.
Now the main thing I'm hearing now is a little bit of a bloom in the low end, which I would look to deal with right here.
Another kind of level, paper chasing, pulling niggas up out of the seat, cause the crowd gonna feel me. If you ever feel like I ever felt before, stand up, put your hands in the air, you feel me? I'm on another kind of level, paper chasing, pulling niggas up out of the seat, cause the crowd gonna feel me. If you ever felt like I ever felt before, stand up, put your hands in the air, you feel me? I'm on another level, my money's getting taller, it's getting taller, can't even get it in order. I'm stacking money, Another kind of level, paper chasing, pulling niggas up out of the seat, cause the crowd gonna feel me. If you ever feel like I ever felt before, stand up, put your hands in the air, you feel me? I'm on another kind of level, paper chasing, pulling niggas up out of the seat, cause the crowd gonna feel me. If you ever felt like I ever felt before, stand up, put your hands in the air, you feel me? I'm on another level, my money's getting taller, it's getting taller, can't even get it in order. I'm stacking money, Another kind of level, paper chasing, pulling niggas up out of the seat, cause the crowd gonna feel me. If you ever feel like I ever felt before, stand up, put your hands in the air, you feel me? I'm on another kind of level.
So what a lot of what we're trying to do here is even out the frequency response of the vocal, give it a nice full representation across the frequency spectrum, make it warm in this case, because I think that's what she needs. You're good, Smalls. I really appreciate it.
Okay, cool.
Come on in. So today we covered some really basic things that and I want to underscore, as I said in the beginning, some things I see often going wrong in hip hop tracking sessions. Beat on the grid. What does that let me do? Lets me take this thing that happened right here using relative grid.
I'm on another kind of level.
Let's just take this.
I'm on another kind of level, paper.
And let's say I want to put that later in the song. I want to put that right here. Option, click and drag.
I'm on another kind of level, paper chasing, pulling niggas.
Say I want to put it right way over here after this breakdown. Whoops. Whole breakdown, boom, this is gonna go right here.
I'm on another.
And I'm right in.
I'm on another kind of level, paper.
Right? So if you're on the grid, those kinds of moves become super easy. I can't tell you enough how that one move alone, getting on the grid so you can use grid mode, can make you a superstar in a hip hop tracking scenario where you can just quickly fly things around. Oh, this hook goes for the next two hooks, boom, there it is. No monkeying around, you're just there. Super good. Being on the grid also lets you edit the beat. So let's say this breakdown's too long, yeah? So the progression starts there. Say we only want it to be 2, 3, 4. We only want it to be that length. I'm gonna go in here, you can just delete this. Pull these right over to here.
I'm on another kind of level.
Really super fast and easy to do. Not that it's impossible to do if you're not on the grid, but it's much more time consuming, much less certain. You look like just a pro if you're doing it this way. And again, as much as it shouldn't be, because people should have budgets and should be making more money, should be able to pay more money, blah, 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 all those great philosophical reasons. In hip hop, in general, your ability to work fast and produce good results will be just as important as your ability to produce good results. So speed is great to have in this genre. So being on the grid, working with playlists, the other huge thing. Skipping the first playlist, of course, so that you have somewhere to comp to. This is gonna be our comp right here. So if we go into playlist mode, we can easily comp from the different takes we did. Up to the top, we want this, we want this, want this, put them together, boom.
I'm on a whole nother level, paper chasing, pulling niggas up.
Perfect, right? No, but the point is that we can comp easily up to this blank playlist that doesn't have a number on it, right? So that makes us look nice, this gets all done, back into waveform, I'm done, consolidate like it was meant to be, yeah? Okay, so that's another professional workflow that I really would like to see you hip hop guys take on early in your production careers. The big third one, and we'll leave it here, is gain structure. So I set my beat to be peak value, -18 dBFS. I'm using the sample peak meter. You can use whatever peak meter you want, Pro Tools Classic, linear, linear extended, doesn't matter. As long as you're setting your peak value to -18 dBFS, you're gonna have plenty of headroom. You're not gonna have to turn your vocal way up on your preamp. God, I see this so much with you young hip hop guys. Your preamp is cranked way up, creating distortion, creating unwanted saturation in order that you can hear the vocal next to your beat. So if your beat's up here, it's gonna make it really hard to hear this vocal.
I'm on another kind of level, paper chasing, pulling niggas about. I'm on another kind of level, paper.
Right? And you'd end up cranking your preamp up, trying to make that gain structure. None of that is how this should work. This beat should be down here, giving you plenty of space.
I'm on another kind of level, paper chasing.
To hear those vocals just fine at a nice input
I'm
level
on another
of
kind.
negative 15 dBFS. Look at that. I've got my nice negative
I'm
15
on another
input.
kind of level, paper chasing, pulling it.
No gain structure problems whatsoever. Plenty of headroom. Cool. So at this point, I will open it up for questions. Does anybody here have any questions? Waterboy, this is your opportunity to do your mic thing. The mic is not working. Well, so still though, nevertheless, do you guys have any questions? You guys have been good about asking as we went along. I really appreciate that. I think that's the flow I would prefer for these seminars. So it's fine if you don't have questions at this moment. Smalls, you were in the booth for some of this. Do you have any questions about the artist side or anything you've got over there?
Would you prefer the artist to sing you the, I don't know if you said that already, to sing you the track before the session?
Yes, always. So if I can, as a producer, the things that allow me to even start to do my job are the demo, meaning I know the song we're going to record, in this case, the track, right? And references. So I will have discussed with the artist what they're listening to, how they're, what sounds they like or don't like or think are bassy or crunchy or whatever, so that when we're in the session, we're not trying to use meaningless adjectives to describe things like, oh yeah, we just want this to be like super crunchy and low key. Like, I don't know what that means, but if you can play me a reference of crunchy and low key, we can hit that, right? Right? Yeah. So my man over here, maybe he doesn't need references. He might be able to interpret all of your adjectives. That was pretty perfect, actually. But in general, yes, I want that ahead of time. Now, we also talked before you got here about how this was the perfect start because usually they're going to be late and you're not going to have the track. So step one often will be download from YouTube. So this, you know, and I really, hip-hop guys and especially previous hip-hop clients of mine, I really don't mean to call anybody out here. Like, I really enjoy working with hip-hop clients. I've done a bunch of it. I love hip-hop music. I really don't mean to demean anybody or anybody's workflow. But it has been the reality for me that step one tends to be download the beat from YouTube. Communication is often difficult. Getting things like the beat ahead of time have often been a great luxury. So working in hip hop very often is a matter of rolling with the punches in the beginning. So like they'll come in, you'll do it the wrong way the first few times. If you just gently point out the ways that they could be saving time, money, and getting a better product, if they would help you out by sending the demo and sending references, sending their track ahead of time, by clearing the beat, by helping you prepare, etc., then those relationships can be long-term and can really be beneficial for you and the artist. But you know, meet them where they live to begin with. You know, let them come in where they're at and work with them from there. Cool. Thank you very much, Smalls. Woo! I've had a lot of people in this booth and a lot of people in seminars. You're the first one to just, I say freestyle, you just dive right in. So that takes some stones. Thank you very much. Right? And I still, we should really work on that there's got to be an equation, like a linear equation for how long a freestyle lasts versus how likely it is to mention breakfast foods. We'll work on that graph. Thank you for being here, guys. We'll see you next week where our topic will be drum tracking.